Welcome to another exciting episode of the Business of Digital podcast, featuring your hosts, Matt Siltala and Dave Rohr. Hey guys, excited to be here with you on another one of these episodes. How's it going, Dave?
It is good, and we're going to talk about the sexy topic of project management today.
Oh, come on, I like the title better. Why you should conduct a post-mortem.
Yeah. Or tips for a successful post-mortem, or why you should do it even though it's painful and annoying and sucks and isn't fun. Did I sell you on why you should do one yet?
Did we sell you on why you should listen?
Yeah, no. Like, click next.
No, it actually is going to be very useful when and maybe you should take this opportunity to jump into how you've explained it to me as well and what you want to share. It actually is going to be quite a useful episode for a lot of people, I believe.
Yeah, and we've got two great resources as always. One from the Nielsen Norman Group and one from Portnet.
Ian always is the man with his data and info.
You just need to steal. There's the Portnet article we literally just found this morning. Was not even one of the ideas that spurred it, but it's a great resource that walks you through 11 steps. But I think anytime, and this isn't just for agencies, although I think more agencies should do it. We used to do it at Cavario every so often. It was sometimes painful, sometimes not, depending on the project. If it was a successful project, it's less painful, of course.
Right.
If it's a not successful project, it's kind of painful.
A lot more painful.
Well, yeah, because everyone's pointing, fingers. It's sports analogy. Like, how many times have the Bears signed someone and everyone's like, yeah, and then 2 years later, we got a new coach, or we're suddenly looking for a new quarterback, or well, I'm the Bears fan. We're always looking for a new quarterback. Who's like, ever since I was a Bears fan, we've been looking for a new quarterback. But there's always finger pointing. It's like, oh, it's the GM's fault. It's their fault. Well, it's like, what was the process? And so what this postmortem is supposed to do is pick out the good so that when the next project comes up, you do the good and figure out what got screwed up and where and why, so that in the next project it doesn't happen. See how simple that is?
Very. I mean, I'm looking at the notes here, and you have your 4 main steps, and you're talking about 11 steps in other places. No.
Well, there was 4 steps in that one, and then there was 11 tips.
Gotcha.
So 4 steps, 11 tips.
Well, what I was thinking was how this would be very useful if you are a one-man shop, because a lot of times, you're focused on the task and you get this done. Like, your goal is, okay, I got to get this content out, or I got to get this thing made, or I got to get this design done, or I got to, you know what I mean? Like, you just have these tasks, and then you're on to the next one. It's just how it is. You're like, boom, 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 got to get these done. But this gives you the opportunity to actually go back and see what you did right, what you did wrong, what you could have done better, and it gives you the opportunity to audit that process and also figure out how to do it better, because if you're not doing that, you're never going to figure that stuff out. So,
and I think we all do this to some extent, like yard work. Like, I'm just looking at the yard and stuff I have to do, of course. Mowing the lawn. We'll just say mowing the lawn. Matt doesn't really have a lawn, so this isn't applicable.
Well, I have two boys too, so.
Yeah, I know. Well, even for them, it's like, all right, well, if I start on this side and I mow this way, I can, I only have to bag it here. I only have to do this. I think we all do postmortems after projects, and it's like, wow, that took me way too long. How can I do it quicker next time?
Oh yeah.
How can I? Or we think, I made this project and I thought it was only going to take me 2 hours to complete this, but it took me 2.5. Why? And we kind of run through this process and go, okay, where did I get hung up at? Oh, well, when I was trying to do that, is there a better way to do that?
I'm always doing this with, like, the smoking the meat, and of course keep bringing it up, but, like, it's perfect example. Like, I have gotten so much better from the first time because I learned stuff every single smoke. You know what I mean?
And I think that is the goal of this, but it gets harder. When it's one person, I think you should do it, but I think you should actually formally do it and write it down so that next time when you work on that project, or, say you only do a link audit for clients once a quarter, or you only do a technical audit once a quarter, or once a month.
Well, here's something I thought about too, Dave, and sorry to interrupt, but
No, go ahead.
Something I thought about while you're doing this is we kind of do this already, but do we write it down and do we make something formal out of it? Because I was thinking, all right, well, I look back in the day when, we still do a lot of infographics and just kind of create content that, is quote unquote more the type of content that can go viral or get a lot of, people talking about it, linking, commenting on it, news picking it up, etc., things like that. But every time you put one of those out, you think of, how can I improve this? Or like,
how can you replicate it?
Exactly. How can you replicate it? How can you make this
streamline
better? Why did this person pick it up this time? I put out this specific topic, or it was very similar to something that was done previously. Exactly. So, I mean, more to your point and finish your thought, but that's like kind of just what I was thinking of has been done in our case.
And yeah, it's whether for one person, I think we just need to formally do it and sit down so that when you go back to that project in 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years or whatever it is, you don't forget, or you don't repeat the same mistake. But I think with teams, which is even more important, when you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 people that manage other people and other resources, and you're working with this PR agency to do this part. You have a dev contractor, you have an internal writer, and you have this other approval person internally. So you've got all these different people. Some report to you, some don't. Some can do whatever they want. Where was the breakdowns? Was it in communication? Was it in we didn't tell this contractor exactly what to do? Maybe we had scope creep because the approver didn't approve things and just kept changing their mind. And, you want to figure out, and the 4 steps are: set expectations early, discuss what went well, discuss what needs improvement, and create an action plan. And I think the hardest part of these is always not to point fingers.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, well, Lucy didn't do her job, and, Jeff over there decided not to do it until the last minute. So they screwed up everyone. Well, why? Well, because Jeff had 50 other things going on. Okay, so where did we fail? Well, we failed in managing and understanding his other priorities. And why did Lucy go? Well, the project manager forgot to ask her when her vacation was, and we assigned her this very important, timely task while she was on vacation, and she didn't even know. Okay, well then, not really Lucy's fault. It's us not asking questions about who has time off. Okay, well, next project we do, perhaps we should understand who has vacation time, who has travel, who has other priorities and other projects going on.
Interesting.
But and I know it was always hard to not point fingers. It's just easier than to take, But I think that's where the goal is that the next time you have a project and you work with all these different groups, you just don't repeat it. And it's not just for agencies, but I think agencies should do it to understand, is it a communication issue with the client? Like, why did something get set back 5 times?
Yeah.
Like when you guys are working with clients on infographics.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I think that it also helps you do things like, for example, when I'm thinking about all this, you create systems and better tools in place, like,
or limits for revisions.
Well, yeah, well, no, exactly. Well, that's just it. Instead of hey, why is this continuing to come back? Well, let's have a document put together that kind of helps them give us all their feedback. If one of our pain points that we find from all these is because of revisions or because of this or that, well, let's address that from the start and let's set expectations properly, like, that you have, number one, set expectations early, but that helps you create the kind of systems and processes that can be put in place. Like, you give them stuff to make them feel like they're a part of it from the beginning, and that helps things down the road. At least that's what we've experienced.
Well, and some of, oops, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, some of my documents that over the last couple of years have come to be what they are now because I would always deliver an audit and we would go over it. And the very first question was, what's the priority? Well, I had some prioritization in it and I would document it in there, but it just got to the point where they're like, well, I want a checklist. I was like, okay. So now every audit I give, the very first thing is not a summary because no one's going to read it. No one cares. It's just a checklist. It's a checklist of every item I found with a prioritization.
And that's if 90% of the people are coming back to you saying, this is what we want, then boom,
like, okay.
Exactly. It makes it easier on you, less.
And the same thing, I had another deliverable around keyword research that I always used to do. And I liked it, but I knew it wasn't perfect. And over the years, I still don't think it's perfect, but it's very usable. And I've found that it's a great way for me to deliver that deliverable, that content, that direction that they're looking for in the way that I've figured out how to do it. And that came through trial and error, feedback, me sitting down going, okay, what do they like? What don't they like? How do they use it? You know, I've gotten feedback on how they actually use this or don't use it. Where can I improve? And that for me was the post-mortem was more of the, what's the feedback of the end result? Like, not really my process, because my process to get there was the same, but it's like how I package it and deliver it needs to change. There's something wrong there.
Right.
There's an opportunity to improve. What is it? And that's where I worked on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all great, and that helps you get to the point where, well, and from what I've seen, a lot of times that we've had issues, Dave, is when, you know, clients aren't as involved as you know that they need to be, and this helps get them more involved in those kind of processes as well. And so I think that helps the overall process too. So those are just some thoughts. Yeah.
I was looking at the tips of lists because I'm trying not to read them, but now I'm looking at it. I think, there's a good one. Number 4 is create an agenda. I think use a Google form before you have one of these and ask questions. And whatever the project is, ask, what do you think worked? What do you think not worked? And make it anonymous. And if you have 8 people in the group, just make sure that, you just say, we're not going to meet until there's 8. And also, no one gets their bonus until we do this. Or, you need to do this by Wednesday. And if all 8 aren't in there, we're all sitting in a room and we're doing it. And, there'll be consequences or something. But have everyone fill this out anonymously and then walk through it. And in the agenda, walk through and go, okay, what worked? Okay, great. That was good. This was good. So we really like this vendor. We really like this process, blah, 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 blah. And then, walk through what didn't work, but also walk through the project, the scope, working with internal clients. Like maybe there's just a person internally that, like you talked about, like there's always revisions or there's always something that comes up. How can we combat that? What documentation can we have?
Yeah.
And in the past, when I was in-house, it got to the point where we would have 6 people asking for things outside of the marketing department. And so we ended up creating a site change request form. So if you wanted something changed on the website and it was on the marketing side of the website, you had to fill out this form. You had to do screenshots. You had to give us a URL. You had to tell us exactly what was wrong or what was being changed and exactly what you wanted. And when the date was, like when you needed it by, when you would like it by.
Very thorough.
Well, because we would just get people emailing stuff over or telling it to one person saying, hey, can you put this in the next, sprint? Can you put this in the next update to the site?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we also have these other 20 things we're trying to do, and then it also put them on the hook to QA it. because we would do some postmortems there, and we found out that we were making changes in dev and staging, never getting a final approval, and then just not moving it. Or we would move it, and then they would tell us it was wrong. Like, well, okay, well then now our postmortem basically was, well, if you don't approve it in test and staging, and I don't have an email that says you approve it, it doesn't go live. And, you know, when people have a deadline, and because they don't check their email and they don't tell you that they approve something, it doesn't go up there. And then you show them and they take it to the superiors and they basically go, so here were the directions. Here's what you were supposed to do. You failed and now you're mad at them.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, told you.
Yep.
Like, we're not going to push it live because you didn't approve it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take the heat for not pushing it live if you didn't approve it. Or if it goes up and you approved it, and it's the same on dev and the same on staging and the same on production, yet you're yelling at me. It's like, well, you approved it.
Yeah.
You QA'd it. You know, it's a bit of, you know, CYA, but it's also just trying to streamline and create processes and not waste everyone's time. And I think that's what some of the postmortems can help you do, and not just, you know, point fingers, but I think it can help people streamline internal processes. We're just dealing with like a consultant. Like, if you have a team of 5 people and they work with Avalanche, or, you know, maybe you're a smaller team and you work with me, and you know, after 2 months, we're like, okay, well, we send you random emails, but you don't answer. Like, well, I do. But, you know, I always have to follow up with more questions, or you know, you always ask me to do something, but I don't have access to something.
Right.
Or you tell a writer to write something, but you never tell them what the purpose is, what the keyword targets are, what to link to. Like, you give them no direction.
And this is all the kind of stuff that you could be figuring out if you're conducting
all the stuff we face
postmortems.
every day.
Yeah, it is, exactly. So, all right. Well, any final thoughts on this? Any last minute tips that you want to share?
Nope. I think the 2 resources will have good steps that walk you through, and then additional 11 tips on top of what we just talked about that'll walk you through trying to do one. I think start small. Start with internal small projects, and I think they can really help you save time. I mean, think about if you have 4 people on a project, and instead of each of them spending 3 or 4 hours on a project, they spend 2 on that same type of project next time.
Much better. Everyone's happy.
Or even 3 instead of 4. I mean,
Yeah.
You just saved 4 hours of work. Now they can do, you know, 5 projects instead of 4 like that. I mean,
Very true.
the ROI is huge, but also just the cost savings and wasting printing and time and stuff. So
All right.
that's all I got.
Excellent, sir. Thank you very much for sharing those insights. Hopefully you guys got something from that, and why you should be conducting your own postmortems. And so just want to give a reminder, everybody, we're out there pretty much everywhere that you can find us, like Spotify, Google+, iTunes, lots of places. You'll see them on the website.
Box. I'm just trying to think. Yeah.
Just make sure you go to Spotify, or actually, let's do Google Plus this time. Or not, did I say Google Plus?
How old are you?
Google Play. Scratch all that. Go to Google Play and give us a 5-star review if you like this and if we've provided some value for you. So, for Dave Rohr with Northside Metrics, I'm Matt Siltel with Avalanche Media, and thanks, guys, for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thanks.